Folks, CNN might cease to exist as a network after they delivered this devastating Trump polling data.
I would argue this is the worst set of polling data that Donald Trump has had.
And I wish that were hyperbole, folks, but after you see what Donald Trump is currently doing to CBS and the devastating polling that CNN just reported on, I think you'll agree it's not. Because Donald Trump is now in absolute panic mode as CNN's Harry Enton dropped the worst polling data of Trump's entire political career. And when Donald Trump feels attacked or backed into a corner, he lashes out by stifling free speech and suing the broadcaster in an attempt to shut them down or at least bury them in legal fees. Now, I have the full breakdown of that disastrous polling that should be breaking news in itself coming up for you in just a minute, but in order to drive the point home of how dangerous it has become to even report facts that reflect negatively on our dictator-in-chief, we need only look to this Truth Social meltdown from last night, where Donald Trump bragged about suing CBS News and Paramount and gave direct orders to the FCC chair to revoke their broadcasting license. All this because 60 Minutes, a highly respected and credible pillar of journalistic integrity and thoughtful investigative reporting, ran two specials this weekend that tangentially related to the president. One, simply reporting that Greenlanders themselves are telling Trump they are not for sale, but are instead open for business, and then for running a full hour-long interview with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky that included Trump getting caught in this lie that he then deemed fake news.
I will end the war in Ukraine immediately. I will get it done while I'm president-elect.
During his presidential campaign, Trump boasted he would end the war before Inauguration Day. Instead, today, Palm Sunday, Russian missiles struck the Ukrainian city of Sumy. At least 32 civilians are dead, including another 2 children.
I'll link to the full Truth Social post below, but here is Trump saying that 60 Minutes mentions the name Trump in a derogatory and defamatory way, specifically calling out this weekend's broadcast and their coverage over Ukraine and Greenland respectively, then going on to say, I am so honored to be suing 60 Minutes, CBS Fake News, and Paramount over their fraudulent beyond recognition reporting. They are not a news show, but a dishonest political operative simply disguised as news. They should lose their license. Hopefully, the Federal Communications Commission, as headed by its highly respected chairman, Brendan Carr, will impose the maximum fines and punishment, which is substantial for their unlawful and illegal behavior. CBS is out of control at levels never seen before, and they should pay a big price for this. And folks, if CBS received that level of dystopian Trump tantrum for simply reporting the facts, then CNN better get ready for the legal battle of a century. Because here is Harry Enton breaking down Trump's abysmal polling data, the worst in either of his presidential terms.
Well, you don't have to be a mathematical genius to see the trend line on your screen, and it is getting worse. More folks are feeling the economy is going southward. Back in November, it was just 42% of Americans who said the economy is getting worse. You jump forward to February, 49%. You jump forward to March, 51%. Now look at this number. 53%, the clear majority of Americans think that the economy is getting worse. It's an 11-point jump from November to now, and of course, Donald Trump won the 2024 election because he promised to fix the economy, and yet views of the economy are going down. The percentage who say it's getting worse is going up, Sarah Silverman.
Okay, so usually the former administration actually is responsible for the economy, especially in the first couple of years of the new presidency. So who are people blaming for this?
This, to me, is a very interesting trend line that we're seeing develop over the last few months. All right, so, of course, Joe Biden was the last president. Donald Trump is the current president. Donald Trump wants to say, don't blame me if you're upset with the state of the economy. Blame the other guy. I don't think Americans are buying what he's selling at this particular point, at least anymore. More responsible for the economic state. They asked about inflation back in March. Look at this. 38% said Joe Biden. 34% said Donald Trump. But look at where we are this month when they asked about the general state of the economy. Look at how much higher the Trump number is. 54%. The Joe Biden percentage drops through the floor at 21%. So this idea that Donald Trump will try to sell to the American public, is trying to sell to the American public, is that it's the other guy. It's not me. It's that other guy, that old guy, Joe Biden. No longer is this being the American public is no longer buying this set of arguments like they were back in March. And of course, what is so important here? We have had the tariff war in the last month. That's what's going on. I believe that a massive shift is occurring because Americans are seeing what's happening on their television screens. They are seeing what's happening in the stock market. They're seeing what's happening in the bond market. One day, Donald Trump says one thing about the tariff war. The next day, he says another thing. One day, one of his advisors says one thing. The next day, that same exact advisor says another thing. And all of a sudden, Americans are picking up on this. And this idea that Donald Trump is trying to sell, that you can blame Joe Biden. Look at this again. This percentage, 54 to 21. A clear majority now are blaming Donald Trump for the state of the economy, not Joe Biden.
Yeah, folks, literally nobody is buying that this is Biden's fault, which Trump loves to say, but it gets worse.
I said if prices go up and voters' thoughts on the economy go down, that would bring Donald Trump's approval rating down with him. That was the promise I made. And let's take a look at whether or not that's actually occurring, because that's the whole kid and caboodle here. If the two aren't linked, who really cares, right? Except for our 401ks. Trump's net approval rating. Look at this. It's a huge slide in it. In early February, it was plus 6 points. Then you go to late February, plus 2 points. Then you go to March, it's even. And look at this massive jump from late March to now, minus 6 points. That's a 6-point drop in less than a month. And why is that occurring? It is because of the tariff war. The voters are punishing Donald Trump in one of his best polls, which now even that best poll is a negative poll for Donald Trump.
So we'll have to see here how Donald Trump lashes out. But one thing that is clear is when he does lash out, whether it's against the press or the economy, it tends to tank his approval rating. And that is something we can take advantage of. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed the video, drop a like, subscribe to Really American. And for Really American, I'm Kenny Hesse. I'll see you guys in the next one.